And you think to yourself, what were they thinking? Continuity-wise, you would think the parents would wonder, where's Dee Dee? Where did she go? What happened to our daughter? I mean, continuity-wise, you think the parents would wonder that, to the point that Dexter would be like, follow me, see that horse over there? That pink horse? That's her. I mean, you think, honestly, they would come up with a concept like that, maybe a follow-up episode. But no, it's just like, end it there. And that's what I'm talking about, you know, these shows having episodes short sometimes that are one-shot deals, because then that has nothing to do with the continuity later on. It doesn't. It doesn't. And again, it makes you think, what the fuck were they thinking? Coming up with this mind fuck of an idea. You know, it makes you think that. It makes you think that. And again, sometimes these are one-shot deals. And why are they one-shot deals? Because sometimes it's just something that the writer has to get out of the system. And then they just go on and do the rest of the continuity. You know, sometimes the writer, whether it's a live-action show or an animated show, sometimes they will put a warning in front of the television before the episode saying this has nothing to do with the current continuity or storyline you're seeing. This is a one-shot deal. Sometimes they will do that. But most of the time it is a one-shot deal and they don't say anything. Because then you look back at episodes that come on later on and you wonder, why are they mentioning what happens as so-and-so? I'll tell you why. Because of the fact that it never happened. It was a one-shot deal. Want the biggest example? And I talked about this. I'm surprised Linkara hasn't talked about this. I'm surprised nobody's talked about this that much. There are several others, but not many people have talked about it except on the special features of the DVD set, where even the crew and the actors and actresses pretty much regret doing this episode. Basically, I think it's an episode of Star Trek Voyager or Deep Space Nine, one of them. And basically one of the main characters wants to try to attempt Warp 10, which, oh, by the way, was already established in previous incarnations that Warp 10 can be done. Pretty much, because of this, gets side-effected and mutated into almost a lizard-like character that, for some odd reason, is backwards evolving into a salamander-like creature. So what happens? Because of this, at the end, he kidnaps the captain, one of the more popular Star Trek captains, and I think the only major female Star Trek captain. What's he do? He kidnaps her, does a warp 10 with her, the same thing happens to her, they end up landing on a planet where they're found by the rest of the crew, but they're found, in 3 days, and oh, by the way, within 3 days, not only does the character that's affected go full salamander, backwards evolve into full salamander, but so does the captain. And oh, by the way, within 3 days, because of that, not only do they go full salamander, they mate and they have kids. And that is one of those WTF mindfuck moments that not only is a one-shot deal, but is so WTF and mindfuckery that even the cast and crew look at it the same way. Because even they wonder what the fuck they were thinking when they come up with that episode. And it's so bad. It's so much of a WTF mindfuck episode in a one-shot deal that it's discontinued from continuity. It's basically a one-shot deal. It's, like I said, it's one of those one-shot deals. Originally, obviously, it was intended to be part of the continuity, but because it was so messed up, they basically said, screw it, we're going to discount it or discontinue it from continuity. Yes, it'll be part of the DVD set, but it's only a one-shot deal. We'll just say it was a mistake that we made, and it was just something we had to get out of our system. Because that's mainly what a lot of these WTF mindfuck situations episodes in live action or animation, or even in movies, live action animation, that people do. They do it because they got to get it out of the system. There's one guy, I can't think of his name right now, who has done some metamorphosis like kind of animation. And he has a couple of movies to his name. One of them is, I think it's called High School Hair or something like that. And basically you have the two main protagonists, the love interest, the boyfriend and girlfriend. Not only do they get ran off the road, killed, and seemingly die together with the car at the bottom of the ocean, but 1 year later, they're sitting there still as now skeletons, a spider going through the freaking girl's skull, and all of a sudden they come back to life. 1 year later. You're thinking to yourself, what the fuck were they thinking with this movie? Because there's also some visuals that make you think that. And if you think that's crazy, how about his other movie before that, before or after that, I Married a Strange Person? Because you have, the plot of this is the main protagonist gets some kind of chip put in the back of his neck, and it gives him the powers to basically shape shift or metamorphosize anything to his will. So basically the girl he falls in love with becomes his girlfriend, his love interest, his wife, whatever. He gets to experiment with. How does he experiment with her? Well, in one of the scenes where they're making out, well basically they're making love in the bedroom, he basically turns her into different things. He turns her into a cheerleader, he turns her into a robot, he turns her into a freaking beaver. I mean, it's like, a rabbit I should say. He turns her into the Statue of Liberty. It's like, what the heck? And again, it's one of those WTF mindfuck situations where you're thinking, what was this guy on? And again, it goes back to the fact that it's more along the lines that this is something the guy had to get out of his system. He did. He had to get this out of his system when he did it. That's sometimes what these are all about. Getting it out of your system, even if it doesn't make much sense. You know, for me, if I had the artistic license and everything, I would hire a crew, I'd get in contact with a top female artist, singer, or up-and-coming female singer or whatever, and I would work with them on a song, to do a music video for a song of theirs, where I would say, we got to make this song, because it sounds like it's perfect for it, almost scene-for-scene remake of Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. Why? Because it's something I would want to get out of my system and make happen. And it's still something I want to see happen, and I keep viewing various animation groups and pages at Vimeo and on YouTube and the internet just to see if something's out there. And honestly, there's a lot of videos that you could tell, whether they admit it or not, the artists take inspiration from what they saw there. They do. From Peter Gabriel's video. They do. But anyway, that would be something I want to get out of my system if I had the luxury to do it. If I had the opportunity to do it. It's something I'd want to get out of my system. But I can't. And I'm still hoping someone's going to do it. I really do. But again, that's me, for example, wanting to get that out of my system. But if you think that's crazy, even in live action film, people do things, have done movies and stories that have basically, been, you know, those mindfuck-like movies, those WTF-like movies. And not just in the past decades either, but in the past few years. I'll give you an example. One that came out last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, 2014, I believe. Yeah, 2014. Lucy, with Scarlett Johansson of all people, Black Widow from Avengers, and Morgan Freeman starring in one of the biggest movies of the year, and if not visually entertaining films. In fact, that's what they say. Some people call it exciting and smart, heart-pounding, 100% entertaining. And why? Because of the fact that it's a visual spectacle. It obviously has a good plot. There's no doubt about that. You know, some critics have panned it. We're not going to say that it doesn't have its detractors, because it does. It's kind of a mixed bag, if you know what I mean. But the reason it's a mixed bag is basically because visually, to those that are kind of in the middle, some that are detracted from it, and some that are attracted to it, the reason it's, you know, kind of like I said, it's got that mixed reaction all the way around, is because of its visual, it's mostly a visual spectacle of WTF mindfuckery. That's right, WTF mindfuckery. And the person that came up with the movie, the story idea, basically had to get it out of his system. He did. There's no doubt about it. It's the same thing with the person that approached Robin Wright, R. Foreman, and Walt Weiss Basher, or R. Foreman. It's a film by R. Foreman, I think so, yeah, written and directed by R. Foreman. This is something that obviously he had to get out of his system. He went to Robin Wright, asked her to portray herself in a movie that basically is a WTF mindfuckery right in the middle of it. I mean, the story and concept is good, but it's one of those movies that as you get towards the middle of it, and it goes from live action to psychedelic animation, almost out of the, which is almost like a mixture of the 30s, the 60s, and today, it makes you think, what the fuck were these people thinking, right? Because visually with the animation, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. The characters basically can turn their hands into wings so they can fly like birds. They grow plants out of their bodies sometimes. Heck, even the hands. Like there's a scene where Robin Wright in animation form is making out with one of the main animation protagonists, her love interest, I guess, in animation form. And basically, her hands are growing into like little tentacles, kind of digging into the ground and becoming like roots. And while they're becoming roots and they're growing and growing and growing, it's like she's turning herself into a freaking plant. Because you see flowers and stuff produced all over the place. And again, it's one of those WTF, what the fuck were they thinking, mindfuckery kind of deals. And again, I think it's basically because the guy, our Foreman, had to get it out of his system. He did. You know, even Japan, with their anime and all that, Japan has had a lot of anime, whether it's good anime, bad anime, mixed, whatever. Some of that anime has been WTF mindfuckery anime. Let's not deny it. Let's not deny it. Even some of the more mature anime, if you catch my drift, has been mindfuckery, if you know what I'm talking about. It has been. I'll give you an example from a almost semi-mainstream kind of situation. Revolutionary Girl Utena, which I have talked about. They did a motion picture version of the movie, an anime motion picture adaptation of the film, basically a retelling of the entire series. But the biggest difference that they added in, was the climax at the end. The climax at the end, where you had freaking Utena turn herself into a car! That's right, there's a freaking car wash that pops out of nowhere. She gets dragged into it. She gets turned into a freaking pink car that, oh by the way, during the climax, gets covered by a red sheet and gets morphed into an even more slicker car. And that, oh by the way, at the climax, gets crushed by these little tread tractors, and she's only able to survive after her and Anthe basically say this, the main line of something like revolutionize the world, and they burst right through the antagonist of the film on one piece, and the making out on what's left of the Utena car that Utena was. And it's like and it's a big WTF, because if you're a fan of the original Utena Magna or the original Utena anime and you see this adaptation and you see the ending of it, you too think, what the fuck? What kind of mindfuck is this? And then it only occurs to you if you read the commentary that the director was taking a page out of Sleeping Beauty, but in reverse. Because throughout the film, Utena was the prince, Anthe was the princess, and just like out of Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, the roles get reversed. Utena becomes the princess when she becomes a car, Anthe becomes the prince, and the way to wake her up is to drive her out of the academy area and into the real world. Again, it's one of those WTF moments. You think to yourself, why? What were they thinking? Why change something that didn't need to be changed? I mean, not saying it wasn't indicated that the characters could turn into other things. You know, there's an episode in the Utena anime where one of the main, I guess you could say, one of the main anti-protagonists, if you will, sort of the tween-tagonist, if you will, basically turns herself into a cow, and then either her boyfriend or little brother does the same thing so she can take care of him. It's like, what? So, and again, it's one of those WTF deals. And again, it still continues to this day because there's a lot of regular anime, a lot of anime with all ages, teen, adolescent anime, young adult anime, very mature anime, where a lot of these kind of things happen. They do. And you're thinking to yourself, again, that same question that people ask for generations, WTF, what the fuck were they thinking when they came up with this mindfuck? Because that is the biggest question. But I know this video is going into several parts, and I do apologize, or this subject's going into several video parts, and I apologize for that. But there's another thing as well. You see, it's not just the writers of animation, of animation, anime series or movies, live action movies or series, or even comic books, because believe me, there have been several stories in Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Archie Comics, IDW, Image, Dreamwave, where this has happened as well. You want a good example, there's a story, I don't know when it takes place, in the whole situation with Ultron in the comics, where Ultron, I guess it's a female Ultron or whatever, possesses Tony Stark's Iron Man suit while he's still wearing it, basically possessing him, and by using the Ultron nanites, morphs him and the body into an exact replica of Wasp. That's right, Wasp is right there. So what does this female Ultron do when she takes control and manipulates Tony's body and armor and all that? She morphs it into a replica of Wasp. And if you read that issue, or even seen that situation, you think to yourself, or even seen that panel, you think to yourself, what the fuck were they thinking? What were they on at that time? What kind of mindfuckery is this? Because it makes you wonder, what the heck? But again, it's not just limited or unlimited to any of that, to movies or to live action movies or series, or animated anime live action movies or series, or even comic books. Even us as fans have been guilty of it. That's right, even us as fans have been guilty of it, and because of a reason. Because of a reason, and the reason is because it intrigues us. What we see, it intrigues us because when we see these WTF mindfuckery moments, it intrigues us and even inspires us to come up with our own ideas. Because they're so out there. And because they're so out there, we become a fan of it because we are intrigued by it, and we're inspired to create our own stuff. There's a friend of mine called Chaotic Lover 2 at fanfiction.net, DeviantArt, and even here on YouTube,